I was there for like almost a year, and was starting to think about next steps of my career. And then at that point, it became my my next goal, which I think will be more relatable to people here, is
Mhm.
I wanted to not have to do a traditional job hunt ever again. I
Mm.
had over the years of my career, I'd experienced, you know, choosing fun employment, right? When I was in a career pivot, I've been laid off, furloughed, or even just miserable in a job where I wanted to move on to the next thing, but wasn't really equipped to be in a position of power to just choose my next job. So what I
Mhm.
wanted to create for myself was I wanted to create some personal leverage and create more opportunity for myself so that whatever I do next in my career, I can more so choose it versus, you know, uploading my resume into a job portal and crossing my fingers.
Yeah. So that was your why.
Mhm.
But what was your process of getting down to that? Or did you just share that with me already?
Yeah, well, the process was then it became, it was being a lot more purposeful with what I was posting on Twitter.
Mhm.
And by that I just mean I really came to think of Twitter or posting there as my water cooler at work.
Mhm.
Um, and I say that because what I mean there is I don't mean that I only talked about marketing. It wasn't that. It was I saw it as this is my water cooler of other marketer or where I could talk to other marketers about marketing, work, corporate life, things like that, things related to work. And so I was able to really bring my whole person self to that. And, I tweeted and still do mainly about marketing, a little bit about tech, like working at a tech startup, but also, funny anecdotes from being a mom, having a
Yeah.
kid, having a toddler.
I think
Um,
I hear one in the
do you
background.
hear?
Yeah.
Dang it, be quiet. But,
It's not in
tweet
my house, I know that much.
hopefully he's quiet now. But yeah, so tweeting about, having a toddler, tweeting about cooking because I'm still passionate about food, and some of these things that are more reflective of who I am as a person, and these are all things that I would be comfortable sharing in a workplace. So I think a key thing here is that when you're building a personal or building a following, it isn't about just only tweeting about your expertise and only that. You could bring in your other interests or your other passions too. It's sort of like what you would talk about comfortably at work during lunch with your coworkers.
Right. All right. So I laid out a strategy for one of my mastermind members yesterday. And I said, I think that when you're first starting out, let's just say ground zero, you maybe have to post 2 to 3 times a day. Do you think
Mhm.
that that thesis holds? And folks, I would love for you to start putting your questions in the chat. I'm going to definitely ask them to Amanda as soon as we get through these points. But I'm going to start looking out for those too. So, yeah,
Mhm.
what's the cadence at which you typically would suggest people posting, either on LinkedIn or on
Mhm.
Twitter?
Um, I post daily or so, once a day, but I do think 2 to 3 times a day works too. I know
Mhm.
that some people will even recommend posting 7 times per day and kind of seeing what sticks. Um, the way I see it is I try to focus on very high signal to noise. And
Mm.
so I'll take the time to spend an extra 10 minutes or so drafting a single tweet, just making sure it's, phrased clearly, doesn't have typos ideally, and things like that. Um, and what I think if someone is, wanting to grow their community and grow their following, I think it's also important to spend time leaving comments on other people's tweets or LinkedIn posts. So
Yeah.
the way I kind of see it is like, LinkedIn and Twitter, I see it as a sort of it's like a big party, right?
Mhm.
When you arrive at someone's party, you don't just walk in and start shouting over everyone and saying, "Here are the things I want to talk about." You kind of join some like smaller conversations, you introduce yourself, you contribute to those conversations, and then as you feel more comfortable and as things feel more relevant, then you start creating your own conversations and people join yours. That's kind of how I see it.
Yeah.
So I would say, um, I post daily on Twitter. Sometimes I skip weekends because I take a break on weekends. And then for LinkedIn, I think daily is ideal. But because content has that longer shelf life there, I think even a couple times per